call to order our October Commissioners' meeting. We'll ask Commissioner Waters to lead us in the pledge and Commissioner Belcher to lead us in the invocation.
Folks, let's stand.
Not in that order.
Bow our heads and we'll pray. Father, we thank you for your peace, your mercy, your goodness, your understanding. Be with us tonight, envelop us in your arms, lead us, guide us, and direct us in all that we do, that we may do it in your honor and in your name. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now concerning the evening agenda, any additions or deletions? I have one addition to the agenda, and that is for a closed session concerning personnel at the end of the meeting. Anybody else have anything to add or take away?
I only have the items for consent, but I don't have anything to add or take from the agenda.
Okay. All right, including the item I just added, all in favor of this evening's agenda, raise your right hand. Opposed? 7-0. Thank you. All right, now as far as conflicts of interest, are there any conflicts of interest this evening concerning the business that we are taking care of this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I have none.
Okay. The silence means that no one else does as well. All right. We have a public hearing, proposed no-wake zone for Little Creek, except there he is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If y'all will recall, this is a requirement by NC Wildlife Commission for the proposed no-wake zone for Little Creek, it's a tributary of Bunch Creek. We advertised a public hearing in the Washington Daily News on the 19th and the 26th. So if the Commission wanted to open a public hearing for the opportunity for the public to comment yea or nay on this proposed no-wake zone.
Okay, is there a motion by the,
So moved.
is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We are now into the public hearing concerning the no-wake zone for Little Creek. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed?
I'm in favor.
Okay, 7-0.
And we'll just follow this up with my next item later on with which will be the number one under items of decision.
Okay, all right, thank you. Now, items for consent.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to remove item 13 for discussion. Which the subject of that is a grant award for Project Husky.
Okay, we'll move that to, you said discussion.
Well, it's, I want to change the content. I'll be making a motion to change the content.
You moving that to the bottom of items for discussion?
Well, it'll be an item for decision, won't it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't have one for
It's
discussion.
going to be, should be item 8. Should now be new item 8.
That would be item 18.
18. Oh, yeah.
We'll make that item number 18. All right, are there any other issues with the items for consent? Having none, is there a motion to approve the consent?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? 6-1. All right, we'll move along to item 4, presentation. First of all, we have Ms. Patrice Russler. and she's from the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Patrice Rossler, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Association of County Commissioners. And it is a great pleasure to be here on behalf of the Board of Directors of our organization tonight for a special purpose. What you all do to represent your county is not only admirable, it is going above and beyond what the public generally expects of their leaders in so many ways. When you come to this office, you come out of a good place in your hearts to do something that is for the value of your citizens. Not many people choose to take up that cross, and so for those of you who do, you are to be commended. I'm here tonight to give a special presentation to one among you who has gone far above and beyond what most commissioners do. You know, in the years that I've been with the association, which has been numerous, I have seen commitment to public service, especially at the county government level, eroded tremendously. There aren't many people in the general public who know and understand what county government even does anymore. It's not taught in the schools the way it used to be when I was coming through school. And so we have a whole generation of young people who didn't get the kind of civics that probably most of you and I got when we were coming through high school. So not many people know and understand what you do as leaders at the county level. Over the past decade, I think, what I have seen at just about every election is more and more we have elected officials, county commissioners particularly, who serve one term. They'll run for elected office because they care about one thing. And once they resolve that one thing they care about, they're done. They've done their duty, they've gotten what they needed, and they move on. Many commissioners we will see run for 2 terms, and in most counties that means an 8-year service. But when you run for 8 years, when you serve for 8 years, you bring your families with you to everything you do, because whether they're in this room or sitting at home, you have committed your whole families to public service. The one among you who stands out tonight is Mr. Hood Richardson. Mr. Richardson has served for 20 years as a county commissioner for Beaufort County. And that is commendable on so many levels, Mr. Richardson. You have given it not just one term, not just 2 terms, but so many years. That is a commitment to public service that goes far beyond just a single issue candidate. People who do what you have done own this. You have it in your heart for public service, and you have given so much of your life to this county and to your citizens. And for that reason, the Association of County Commissioners wishes to give you this small token of appreciation for what you have done for your citizens and
Did you come along?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
Oh, no, let's get a picture.
Yeah.
Come on.
So Linda Millsatz is our Director of Research at the Association's office, and she came with me.
Come on, Violet.
tonight. So do we have
Shirley.
family?
I told her not to dress tonight.
Shirley, you done him right.
Nice to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Put us where you want us. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I just want, can I have a word or two, Mr. Chairman?
Go to
Yes, you can. You've had 20 years. So. There's
A
no
lot
need
of
to try
work.
to stop you now.
I just want to thank the people of the county who put their trust in me over this period of time to keep me here this long. I'm a Republican, and they said it was impossible when we first started this.
So I've been in office for 20 years now, and I just want to tell you, I'm looking for another 20.
Well, Hood, if you stay another 20, they'll be rolling you in here. Certainly, we appreciate you, Hood.
Thank you.
All right. Joy from Trillium.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Joy Futrell, the Vice President of Business Operations with Trillium Health Resources, and we manage services for people who have mental health, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and substance use needs in Beaufort County and 23 others in the northeastern part of the state. And this is Dave Peterson with me, who's the Regional Director for this area. You have in your package our fiscal monitoring report. So I'm going to hit the highlights of that, and then you have a couple other reports that I'll go over too. I'm not sure what page it is, but does everybody have the fiscal monitoring report for June 30th, 16?
Hold it up. Is that what it looks like?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Got it. So I'm going to focus on column 4 in that, and just hit the highlights on the left side. So we have our revenues listed first. And the first one that I want to talk about was the fund balance that you see budgeted on the left. So you see budgeted fund balance right above total local funds. And you'll see that last year we budgeted in column 3 a little over 41 million in that. So I wanted to, as you all probably know from dealing with the county funds, fund balance is something that you earn one time. It's not ongoing money. So this fund balance last year was used for 2 primary things. The General Assembly reduced our funding for last year and this current fiscal year we're in for our state services. So that's the money that we use to pay providers for services for people who don't have any other insurance. They don't have Medicaid, Medicare, any type of private insurance. So we pay providers to provide services to our consumers. And they reduced that money, and each MCO, so there's 7 of us across the state, we had to spend, they asked us to spend our fund balance for last year and for this year. So last year we put in 17 million. This year in the budget from the General Assembly it was around 24 million. So last year was fine. All MCOs had that money. We all had state fund balance from over the years. After this year, if that money's not replaced, our system will definitely have some problems in trying to serve indigent people throughout really all of North Carolina. But this year we've put 24 million in per General Assembly direction. And the other part of our of that money that's in there, about 24 million, is for reinvestment projects. So it was money, most of that money came from money that we had saved from operating the Medicaid waivers in an efficient manner. So some Medicaid savings, again, one-time money. And we've done, our board has approved a reinvestment package. That's the package that was distributed to you. I know you've not had time to look at that, but that goes over all the projects that we've done that our board has approved with our reinvestment funds throughout the 24 counties. And the focus of that has been to, each year we do an annual gaps and needs to identify any gaps and needs in services throughout our 24 counties. So our focus has been to try and use that one-time money to fill gaps and needs across our 24 counties, so that each year when we do that, hopefully we've built on services that weren't there previously. After that, if you'll go down, you see the county appropriations, and you see each county listed. The number in column 4 includes both county money and ABC money. So you'll see for Beaufort last year we received $130,000, a little over that. The way we use that money, the ABC money, you recently got a report, I don't know if it's in your package tonight, it went to the county manager and finance officer that shows the use of the ABC funds. The one thing, we do now have a contract with Healing Place out of Wake County, and part of our reinvestment package, if you look through that, you'll see that we're going to replicate that program. We'll have one in Pitt County and one in New Hanover County. This past year, 8 different people from Beaufort County were served in that program from Wake County until we get ours built. So it's a long-term program, and the ones that we're building will focus on males, because that's where our gap was, but we're able to serve males and females through a contract with Wake County. So you had 8 individuals from Beaufort County served under that. And then with county general money, we provide both crisis intervention training and child and adult mental health first aid in the counties. This year, we've trained 8 officers from this county year to date, and we have some of the child and adult mental first aid classes. They actually are tomorrow and Wednesday in this county. And we also, with our county money, have a contract with Recovery Innovations to come in, and they do wellness and recovery classes. So, and those are ongoing, and actually the schedule just came out for, I started to say next quarter, but it's the quarter that we're in. There's an upcoming group in October 4th. There's a group that starts, there's 2 different groups that actually start in this county. One is at Port Human Services, and the other is over on, and if I pronounce this wrong, I apologize, Outerbrook Apartments in Washington. So both of those are going on. If you go down under the county funds, you'll see DMA capitation funding, so $324 million, a little over that. You'll see that's the majority of our budget. That is the money that we receive from the Division of Medical Assistance to operate the Medicaid waivers in the 24 counties. So anybody that's eligible for Medicaid in these counties, and we have about 187,000 individuals each month that are eligible, those funds are used to pay providers for those services. The majority of that $325 million, a little over 90%, is directly for services for those consumers. Last year, we spent about 95% of that money received. So that 5%, when I talk about the Medicaid savings, is what goes towards that Medicaid savings. The rate that we're paid by Medicaid is based on an actuarial, and it's certified by CMS. So as you can imagine, each year they look at what we spent the previous year, they'll look at our gaps, and that's how they determine our rate that will be paid for the next year. This year, so far, year to date, from July to September, we've spent about 97% of the money. So that percentage is going a little higher. Savings gets a little less as we've managed the waiver more and more. And us managing the waiver has given North Carolina, that is the one place in the Medicaid budget where you see budget predictability. It hasn't been the soaring costs like it has with a lot of the other Medicaid. You're talking a lot about Medicaid reform. The behavioral health care side has been managed, and it's been a very straight line since we started managing that. It started in 2012. The remaining part of our Medicaid money is spent on their individuals that work for us that do care coordination in our 24 counties. So just like an individual, if you've ever had anybody that's had a high-risk illness under your insurance plan and you receive a case manager, same type of thing we do. We call them care coordinators. They work with the population that's more at risk to hopefully reduce those risks for them. And if you'll notice, about 87% of our budget goes directly towards payments for providers, both state and Medicaid. And the last piece that I'll mention, the reinvestment project that you have, the few that you've probably seen in this county, we've had the inclusive playground in this county, Child First, which is a evidence-based practice service for kids 0 to 5 that have experienced trauma. So hopefully going in, providing early intervention will keep those children from maybe going to higher level services, foster care, anything like that later in life, by going in early in those children's lives and their caregivers when they experience the trauma. We've also had Rachel's Challenge, which is an anti-bullying program that is in the elementary schools in this county, in all 7 of those schools. And the last thing that I'll mention, once our audit's complete, that comes to the county each year. You also have in your package the person served report, and Beaufort County's easy to find because y'all are first on the list. And it shows the county general funding as it was budgeted in that first column. And you'll see of our 24 counties, you all are 8th in size of population. You're also 8th in size of the county funding that you contribute. And then you can see the people that we've served in each of the categories that I've discussed. So altogether, 2,683 persons served. So when you rank that, you were 8th in funding and population. You were 7th in number of persons served. And then you'll see the value of those services a little over, well, a lot over 18 million, where you ranked, Beaufort County ranked 6th there. Are there any questions about any of these reports? And I should mention, Chairman Langley graciously serves as our board chair of our regional board for this area, so we certainly appreciate that.
Thank you. Questions or?
What is I/DD?
Intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Okay. Any other questions? Before they walk away from the podium, I want to tell you about a program that Trillium has put together, and I think it is something wonderful. It's called Crisis Chat. So many times when people are depressed or have anxiety, they really don't want to deal with a live person. And so there's a format now that Trillium has made available to all 24 counties, is those who need someone to talk to instead of actually talking to, they can now go online and chat instead of actually being face-to-face, because people sometimes don't want to deal with another person. They want to talk, but they don't want to really deal with you. And so therefore, they have this system in place where you can actually go online, log in, and chat with someone about what's bothering you. And for me, I think that is such a wonderful thing. And so it was my goal to bring the poster and the flyer so that I could show all the numbers that where they could make contact. But if you just go and to Trillium's website, I think you can find all that information. But I think it's good that everybody who will watch this later be made aware that this is available to them, and it can help a whole lot of people, especially our young folk, because our young folk tend not to open up with adults. But if they can chat, tweet, and text and all that kind of stuff, they will do that. And so this is an excellent way for them to let a load off. So hats off to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Dr. Tanzi.
Slideshow.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, gotcha. Mark and I received some questions from county commissioners about kind of a widespread of things, and so we're tag teaming. We have 24 slides, and I think we have 10 minutes. Is that right, sir?
That's right.
So we're going to go quickly, and we're going to kind of take turns here. There were 8 questions asked. I'll let you quickly read them. I think all of you can read. And there are the last 4. And we've spent our time, almost everybody that's from the college in the room spent time working on this to give you as many answers as we can. There are some places we can't give you everything you ask for because we don't have the capability to collect all of that. The first question, how many community colleges in North Carolina offer basic law enforcement training? 54 out of 58 community colleges. And then there was a request for copies of our business plans for new programs. The college does not do business plans. We are required to respond to those bullets and a whole lot of other bullets. And in your document, those of you that have a copy, on page 13, there are 2 different documents in there. The first one tells you the requirements, if you enjoy reading it. Requirements by the system office, the North Carolina Community College System Office, when we apply for a new program. this is what we have to do, and it's quite a lengthy process. Generally, will take us a year to a year and a half to add a new program on the curriculum side. It's a shorter period of time on the Con Ed side. The second document on page 16 is a substantive change prospectus. That is the document that's required by our accrediting body, and it's very detailed as well. We have to fill all of this out, send it in, wait about 6 months to see if they approve. So if we want a new program on the curriculum side, both processes we go through, and they're checking all kinds of things like, do you have jobs, and what the pay would be, and all the various things, is there curriculum to support it, et cetera. Mark, I'll let you talk about that one.
Okay. Not what you told me so. Okay. Our budget is based on a redistribution model, which basically all the 58 community colleges, pool their money into one pool, and then the legislature adds money to that. If we were required to fund ourselves from tuition, only 6 colleges in the state would actually be able to survive at that. And we are also funded based on our amount of full-time equivalents. Like in continuing education, we're only funded for one instructor, which happens to be Stacy. And so anything else that we have to do, we have to earn. Same thing in curriculum, we're only funded for 6 instructors. Everything else we have to earn based on full-time equivalent of students.
And all of our tuition money goes directly into the state. It does not stay local. And that's why we're saying it's a redistribution model. It all goes into their bank account, and then they redistribute it by formula.
And we're not able to keep a fund balance with state at the end of the year. When we pay our last bill, whatever's left in that account, I have to write a check and send it back to the state.
And so we take it down as far as we can. Question 3, sources of revenue to support the proposed facilities. And this, I believe, was in reference to the public safety training building and the driving pad.
Right. Basically, I think we've talked about this before. We've got 3 major areas of funding that we generally work with, and that's funding from the state, which generally covers instructional, county funds, which are facilities and maintenance. In this particular case, state bond funds, which the bond that passed was $6.5 million. That was funded the emergency training complex, as I call it. We also do a lot in grants. This past year, I think Dr. Sullivan's area has garnered over $1 million worth of grants from various organizations to help us. Some of that was also in the capital area of $100,000 to replace a chiller. Rental and self-support, you'll sometime hear us call this institutional or special funds. These are monies that we will gather for, like in Stacy's area, for personal enrichment classes, things of that nature. We talked about this as well. For the driving pad, if we have other agencies, I wouldn't charge a state agency or a county agency, but coming out from other areas, we could charge a rental for that. And you'll see a slide here when we gather some information from other community colleges on what they charge. And we would have to determine what the price point would be for that charge. We also receive federal funding in CTE programs, mainly in Stacy's area, for equipment and training. And we also get about $5 million in student aid every year.
Thank you. Question 4, how many community colleges have their own on-site BLET driving pads? And some of the folks in the room did the research on that, and there are 11 out of 58. And there's the map that shows all of the blue indicators are colleges, and the red stars are where there are driving pads on community college property. And you see there's only one in our area. Continued on question 4, what are the charges to drive on other driving pads? Again, my folks researched that. Anywhere from free to $1,500 per day, so it's a wide spread. $1,500 is pretty steep. Question 5, enrollment trends at BCCC for the past 10 years. That is not all available. We have transitioned from paper, pencil, files to electronic, and the electronic is easily available, and that's what we present to you. We've got 3 slides here. The first slide shows the last 3 years, the FTE, and you can see that we're kind of in the middle there. 4% drop, we dropped by 4%, so we match up with about 35 of the schools. Now, the last 3 years takes us up through last year. That's not right, Jay. The year before last year. Year before last year, because the official data on last year does not come out until sometime later this month. So we're always a year or so behind. And part of that's because the curriculum schedule and the Con Ed schedule are on 2 different calendars, and they merge those together to come up with the full numbers. This year, I assure you, we have dropped again, like most of the other community colleges in the state. We haven't seen numbers, so we don't know. But one of the colleges I've talked to is represented on this screen in tan, light gray color. These are schools that are similar in size to us. The light gray school said this year is the worst they've ever seen in their entire career. However, they look pretty good on there because look where it stops, 2014-15. And we'll have more data later. And our college is in black. One of the things that happened to us, we did not start dropping as much as, well, we didn't start dropping until after other schools had already dropped quite a bit. You only see 4 schools up there, 5 schools. We sustained ourselves longer than the others did, but when we took a drop because of student loans and the economy, we took a big drop. When we add in the system average, the white dotted line, you can see what happened to the system numbers, and the legend for them is on the right-hand side where it says the NCCCS total. So we're not rare and unusual. The average age of the curriculum student has also changed. And if you look at, especially at 2008, you begin to see major changes. We were serving, I think when I came here, about a 27-year-old, let's see, where's my chart? Yep, 27-year-old student. And now we have dropped down to 24-year-old, and it will probably continue dropping. We're heavily promoting and working with our high schools to replace those adults that went to work to support their families instead of going to school. So we'll probably continue to see a little bit of change on that. And you really, if you want the economy to stay good, you really don't want us to go back up to an older age group, because that's what happens. If the economy tanks, those people are going to not have jobs, and then they're all going to come back again to us. So we want the economy to stay good, even though we suffer. And you see that same bump again. And this is the curriculum enrollment status. The top part are the part-time students, and the bottom part in blue are the full-time students. So again, it's that shifting that we're serving percentage-wise more part-time than full-time. Question 6. Mark, page 21 in your handout, if you'll flip back to that.
We don't have numbers on this sheet.
You don't have numbers on your sheets?
It's at the very back of the presentation.
Mine has numbers. I guess I'm one of the privileged, sorry.
But these are things that you guys have seen before on the roofing plan, replacement, vehicle replacement plan, that's in your paving plan. 10-year HVAC replacement plan.
You don't have that?
That's all it is.
What handout do you have?
I think the handout that you tried to give to us.
Okay.
It's the,
We need to
that's,
get the back of
yes.
that, correct? Okay.
That's the one you need, I'm
All
sorry.
right.
Let me give them just a second.
Okay.
You did an upgrade.
Then we got numbers on
There
that.
you go.
Put the other one in the floor so you don't take home the wrong one.
You know, what page were you on?
21.
Yeah, 21. It's at the very back of the presentation.
That is better.
And I believe you've all seen these before. They're just updated dates. And I don't know if you want me to go in depth on any of those, or if you have any questions on them. We'll be glad to answer.
And we have space at the end for questions until Jerry cuts you off. Question 7, staffing for the past 10 years. We can't produce that, but we produced what we have.
Yeah, our computer information system was, I think, generated in the late 90s. And so we have to take snapshots of data. We have a hard time retroing back and getting accurate numbers just based on that system. It happens to be a non-relational database type system. Thank goodness the state is in the process of putting out an RFP to get a new computer information system. And these trends, basically a couple of things. You'll see our full-timers are generally pretty flat, and where we flex is in the part-time for adjuncts. Like if we end up having more students in the English class, we'll cut off a section and hire a part-time faculty member to do that. So you will see the part-time fluctuate quite a bit based on the student load that we do have. And we generally take a snapshot of that in every September timeframe. So that's why you see the numbers flex there. And it could be like if Con Ed has one class that they teach once a year, there's one person that's assigned to teach that class, that will be in that part-time number. So that is a very flexible number on the part-time, but the full-timers generally stay pretty steady. And you can see right now, I'm 1 year ahead based on everybody else on the data because I just pulled it this week or last week. So you see we're down to 149 full-timers, down from about 168 3 years ago.
And you will notice in 2014 and 15, something happened. I think it's called Stacy, Todd, Billy, and Johnny. They arrived, and we asked them to ramp it up because it was the Con Ed side of the house that was growing. And theirs are all part-time teachers, if I'm not mistaken. That's correct, yeah. When they came and ramped up Con Ed, they needed more part-time teachers. Question 8, new programs proposed or being enhanced. This was a toughie. We did our best. It's a very fluid environment we work in. It changes from week to week, depending on who's asking for some training or for us to look at some shared responsibility on a program. So we did our best. This came from our public safety guys. They were saying these are classes we would like to offer if we had our driving pad, and all of those are FTE generating classes. New programs for 15-16, that's the year that we just finished. Stacy offered several new medical programs in Con Ed, some online, some face-to-face. Of course, we opened the first fire academy and graduated our first bunch of folks. And we added HVAC out at the Skills Center. New programs for this year, we're ramping up. I don't know if we've opened yet. Culinary open yet? This week. She's opening the culinary classes. And integrated mechatronics, we're working on hoping for January. We have 2 grants. We're trying to upfit a room and get it ready for integrating into machining, electrical, and electronics because we don't have funding from the state to add a full-time teacher, so we can't say we have a mechatronics degree. Maybe that'll change someday. New programs for 17-18, these are things that we're thinking about, but those things will change quite a bit before we get there. Motorcycle safety, we know that is a revenue-generating program. Most schools have waiting lists, and it is true revenue generating. It is self-support. It is not FTE. So that would go on the driving pad when we can get the rest of the folks off of it. We can do that program for funds. Also, Vidant Nurses Professional Development, we're in conversation with them right now to do some upgrade training in the simulation lab that we have. And something else came up last week. It's not on there and it's not open for discussion yet, but that's how quickly our world changes. Somebody comes in, they need some new training that we haven't done. Program enhanced in 15-16. Our library, we upgraded the whole appearance of it and put it in the modern day age, and it's amazing what it's done for student participation. They actually study in there and collect in there and work together. It really changed it. We've also upgraded electrical, welding, and agribusiness with equipment, some in facilities. We have a new ambulance simulator that's over in our parking lot, or it was missing the other day, so I don't know where you put it, but That's brand new, only, about 4 or 5 months. Fire training, of course, is new, thanks to you guys. And we do have a fire training trailer that's got some of our props in it. We can take around various counties to do training. And the last one is very generic, instructional technologies throughout campus. We work all the time trying to upgrade our technology to meet the technology needs of today's students and today's teacher. And so we've done quite a bit last year, and I'm sure we'll continue some this year. Programs to be enhanced in 16-17. They continue to work on medical programs in Con Ed and in fire training. And you already heard me say we're working on electronics and machining. Law enforcement in service and BLET. We're turning target system, guys. Did I say it right? Got a turning target system ordered because our old one frequently didn't work when we got a lot of rain and mud and it was old, and so we're going to upgrade there. And last one, information technology. We work on that one all the time too, as you can imagine, because the world changes quickly. Questions?
Questions from commissioners?
I have one.
Commissioner Brand.
On the driving pad, you showed us a map of the state and it showed on there where the driving pads were at. Have you talked to any other community colleges and asked them were they going to build a driving pad anywhere close to us?
No, but I will defer to the two guys that know the most.
No, sir.
No?
I had one director of the conference from Montgomery County asked me before we were going to move on. I said I wasn't sure. He just basically said, if you don't, let me know what the answer is. So I'll-
Okay.
And if something happened that they did, how would that affect our driving pad?
If they built one?
If someone close by did, just by chance, just a hypothetical question.
There, you go too far there, yes. Well, as you can see, there's only one, and it's in Jacksonville. So if we position ourselves that we have one, then we have the potential to serve other schools that are all around. And some of these schools are in similar situations. They will eventually lose where they're driving because many of them are still on airports that the FAA will eventually close them down. So it would be our hope that we would pick some of these up and charge them instead of us paying.
There were no phone calls to the other colleges, none that I spoke with had any plans on building one.
There's about 5, Tamco, Carteret, Craven, Lenore, Kiss, possibly Martin, that would probably come to Butler County. We had a driving pad.
Okay.
And there's also driving for fire trucks. Is that correct, Johnny?
Yes, ma'am. Currently, we don't have a place. The last time we did our emergency vehicle driving, we had to use the parking lot at the high school. I've got requests for 2 classes right now, and I'm trying to find a location to actually have the actual driving part of the class.
And you may think they're out there. Larry Barnes and I spent one whole spring, I think, hunting for a place in this community when we lost the right to drive at our airport. All your parking lots have obstacles in them. And we can't have obstacles because then the state won't approve it. And they come out and inspect it and certify it. But we looked in churches, factories, schools. We looked everywhere that anybody could think of, and everything had obstacles.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Waters?
How many years has the driving pad been on the long-term planning or in discussion?
We found some documents that went back to 2002, internal memos, and then the master plan from 2006 included the driving pad in it.
Katie, what do you want me to do to this? Just leave it? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do you have another question?
Yeah.
Commissioner
I don't really
Buzio.
have a question, but I just want to thank you, Dr. Tanzi and Ms. Nelson for your presentation, the information you provided. But I also want to thank you for your service and that of your staff. You've done a lot for the residents and the students of this county, so I really appreciate it. And I also want to take this opportunity to wish you all the best as you move on to your next career.
Thank you,
Dr. Tanzi.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move forward to items for decision. Seth has already taken his place.
Good evening again. As I mentioned earlier, this is the second half of my items this evening related to the public hearing earlier this evening. This is a resolution requesting NC Wildlife Resources Commission to undertake the rulemaking. In other words, the legislation required for a no-wake zone for the purpose of mitigating hazards to water safety in Little Creek and Chocolate. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions from board members? What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. We have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 7-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, Mr. Madsen is not here, and I think you will do his item.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request for an appointment to the Board of Health for the pharmacist seat. The Board of Health met and is recommending that Mr. Armstrong, who is the pharmacy manager at Taylor Drug, be appointed to fill an unexpired seat. His appointment would expire on September the 30th of 17, so we're making that recommendation.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 7-0. Martin.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, bring before you Project SPA, which I've been working with for several months. It's a manufacturing operation, and they're looking to expand that. The company needs substantial upgrades to their current building, approximately about $1 million, and create about 50 jobs, which would be above the county average wage. Looking for a building renovation grant of about 50% of the renovation costs. And the company does currently pay more than 50% of the employee health insurance premium. Reason I'm using a project name is at this point the company is asked to maintain its confidentiality, but we do need to act on this because the pre-application for this grant is due October 25th. The actual application date is November 1st, but I've talked with the Department of Commerce and they've allowed us to extend it till after your next meeting in November. The pre-application stage is no cost to the county. The application will be worked on by Beaufort County staff to assist the company to complete it. County staff will then administer and oversee the grant, and the county will request the company to donate the 5% for the match for this grant, and also county will request a security for the grant itself, so we won't have any financial burden. So I request that the county commissioners vote to submit a pre-application for the building reduced grant for Project SPA.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Well, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When you say the staff is going to work on the grant, are we going to hire Mideast Commission to do this, or our staff going to do this?
Staff will be doing this one. It's a state grant, so it's not very complicated.
Okay, great.
Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? 7-0.
Thank you.
Your next item.
Sorry?
Your next item.
Next item, okay. This is some housekeeping for the Fellows Capacity Building Training Grant. This was a grant that you approved for $50,000 to allow county and municipal staff to attend training. There's no local funds involved in this grant. This one is going to be administered by the Mideast Commission, as it is a federal grant. Last month, you approved a number of the HUD policies that were needed to apply for this grant. At this point, we also need a revision to the budget to allow the Mideast to work on this grant. And also, we need to change the fair housing reporting to quarterly rather than monthly, which is really just a housekeeping issue. So, I'd like to pass the motion to adopt in your books the grant project ordinance, the state budget revision request, and the revised Beaufort County plan to further fair housing, so the county can draw down funds to allow the county and municipal staff to attend the training.
Okay. Is there a motion from the
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Now, any discussion?
Well, I have one question. Who's going to pay Mideast?
That is actually in this grant.
The grant's going to pay
Yes,
Mideast?
yes.
Oh, okay. So we're costing us no money.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 7-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Bobby Parker.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. I'm here with, I have some late applications for senior citizens, disabled veterans, and disabled persons. So I have 8 of them. They're all together. They've come in late. And some reason, some people didn't know that we gave senior citizens. Others had other reasons, but I have 8 of them, and I think this is one of the programs I think that people need help if you can help them.
So you're recommending we approve these?
I do.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All
Thank you,
opposed? Thank you, sir.
Chairman, members of the board.
Christina Smith.
Good evening, Commissioners. As a follow-up to a discussion that we had last month regarding the demolition and the asbestos abatement of the county home, presented to you tonight is a recommendation to award the asbestos removal to Enviro Assessments, Inc. That project was put out to bid this month, and they were the low bidder. I've had a discussion with the contractor, and he is familiar with the project, and he is confident that he can come in and do the, remove the asbestos, go through the permitting process, remove it, dispose of it for the amount quoted within the 45-day timeline.
What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Any discussion?
I have a question. Coupled with this was the demolition of the building. Is that coming up next, or?
It will be coming up next month. It was bid also at the same time. The project was put out for the demolition. However, during the bidding process, some questions were raised regarding how the material could be disposed of. The scope of work of that RFP specifically stated that the debris needed to be disposed of in a licensed facility. Additional information was obtained just before the bids were due, speaking with Department of Environmental Quality now personnel, and so we now have further clarification regarding what is beneficial fill and what is actually inert, and it does appear that some of the debris that would be made during the demolition could possibly be disposed of in a facility that is not a permitted facility. Therefore, tipping fees would not need to be paid. The manager and I discussed this, and those bids were rejected, and we will rebid the actual demolition with a revised scope of work, hoping to reduce that cost of the demolition.
My understanding is once you pay the money to have the property cleaned up, then it becomes a normal demolition without any handicaps for the use of the material.
That's true. There are still some limitations on the type of material that can't have paint, can't be petroleum and that type of thing, some of the concrete. So there are still certain limitations for that, and that language will be included in the revised RFP.
Thank you.
Hello. Christine, I noticed, thank you. I noticed the 3 bids you have.
Mm-hmm.
There's a significant difference.
Yes, sir.
Between the top and the bottom when they got it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you express to this, whoever got it, please don't come here with no change orders.
Once again, Commissioner Booth,
I know you can't
promise that
control
there are not
it.
going to be change orders, but I will tell you that I contacted the gentleman that prepared the bid, discussed with him the scope of work. He says that he has a clear understanding, and if it may make you feel a little better, his
Yes.
company is the company that did the initial assessment So he is very familiar with the scope of work, and he's confident that he can
Well,
take care of it.
if it make him feel any better, tell him if he come up here with a change order, he gonna have some questions.
I'll make him come instead of me.
Yeah,
How's that?
please do.
But I did call and discuss it with him, so he was aware of
Look
that.
funny, didn't it?
I'm sorry?
Look kind of funny, didn't it?
It is, but again, he has the most knowledge of the project, so
Thank you.
and he's also pretty local, from Craven County, so one of the other firms was out of Wake County.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Did we make a motion?
I don't think so.
I think I made it.
Okay,
And,
that's right.
I don't know who seconded it.
I think I
Mine
seconded
don't.
it.
That was a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Yep, all right. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 7-0.
Thank you.
John Pack.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here tonight to ask for you to accept the bids that were submitted for the 3 structures, one located on Northfleet Shores Road and 2 on Wheat Patch Road, as per the bid packages that you have received. The bids ranged in prices from $23,000 to $30,000 difference. This time we had 5 different companies bidding. 6th one, if you count the pack, they only bid one only bid on 1 structure, which is really good to have that many because that lets us know where we are in the price range. So, subject to your questions, sir, I would recommend the approval by the Board of Commissioners of the recommended contractors at the cost referenced on your abstract sheet for the structures to be elevated at the present bid tabulations as per the sheet that you received. They are all 3 the low bids.
Is there a motion from this board?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Back- I noticed in your RFP, they could either choose to bid on 1 structure or all 3 structures,
Yes, sir.
and nobody bid on all 3 structures?
Yes, sir. 5 of the contractors bid on 3, and B&B Construction only bid on the 1. That's on the bid tabulation sheets that you have, sir.
Okay. All right, I misread it. I thought the thing was is that they could bid on, that 1 company could take down all 3 structures.
Theoretically, had they bid low on all 3 structures, 1 company could have done that if we
Nobody
went-
did that, though.
But nobody did that. No, sir. There's 3 different contractors, all ones that we're currently or have been using. And 2 of them are Beaufort County, and 1's from Craven County.
We couldn't find another one from Beaufort County? I guess my question is, if we could have gotten a bid on taking down 3 structures, would we have saved money?
Yes, sir. If they had all 3 been the low bids, we could have saved money. Adding up these total numbers right here, we would have had to give a higher
right.
price on one than the other. And
All
the
right, thank you.
requirement from the federal government is
Thank you,
low
thank you,
bid.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Brand.
Commissioner Buzzio, maybe I can make this a little clearer for you. B&B Construction, they're the ones that bid on 1 project, and it could be they were just not financially strong enough to bid on all 3, so that could be the reason why he only bid on 1.
Yeah, because usually, at least in the past, companies like to bid on all
Right,
3.
I understand.
Keep the cost down, especially when you have 2 properties on the same street, a couple
But
doors down.
I had that same question.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
Anything further?
I would like, did you give them a chance to bid on the 3 of them as a whole?
As a group, no, sir. Because the FEMA's policy is the
They
federal
won't let you do
contracting
that.
policy, low bid on each structure.
On each, so they,
Remember, these are all FEMA dollars, 100% FEMA dollars, so.
we used to, the schools would group them, and sometimes when you grouped them, you could get all 3 of them done cheaper than individual.
Yes, sir.
I got you. Thanks.
All right.
That's it.
All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, 7-0. Thank you. Right. Commissioner Buzzio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the hospital, this is for appointments to the Hospital Authority Board. At our August 1st meeting, the board voted to request that the commissioners at this meeting reappoint 3 of the members, and the vote here at the regional, the hospital authority was unanimous for the reappointment of Suzanne Gray, Betty Murphy, and Richard Richmond. Their appointments will continue then to 2019.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that the board approve the reappointments of Ms. Gray, Ms. Murphy, and Mr. Richmond.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, 7-0. Mr. Manager.
John was going to give a quick update to the board on the hurricane, if he had just a second.
Thank you. QUICK.
As of what time?
Please take one and pass it down.
That's fine.
Make it good news.
No, sir, if I could, I would. You know that, because I would rather it be going further out to sea. As of the 5 PM update, Matthew's still a Cat 4. But what they have done is they further moved the track to the west. And at 2 PM on Saturday, it will be 179 miles in a direct line to the Little Washington, North Carolina, if it stays on its current track. It will come ashore as a low Cat 3 or a high Cat 2, approximately between Jacksonville and Wilmington, and proceed directly right now towards us. Now, this track could easily change, but that was the 5 PM update, and the National Hurricane Center is asking us to remember track could change. However, the models are sharply moving it westward, and now they're in agreement and showing that the Carolinas have something to be worried about. And other than that, sir, hurricane hadn't made it to Haiti, and they've already got 12 inches. They are expecting 40 inches of rain. So what it'll be like after it comes through the Bahamas, sir, I'm not a mind reader, especially when it comes to Mother Nature. But that was the 5 PM update, and it just goes back to the email that I sent out earlier today saying that we're doing all the things we need to try to get as ready as we can. And I would suggest that the meetings that we have currently scheduled in that email, we take a real hard look at doing, because we need to take all necessary steps to protect the people of Beaufort County.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Richardson.
This motion concerns flounder fishing. Usually, we're not concerned about flounder fishing, but there is a set of regulations that have come out using some rather inappropriate, so people believe, methods by the state that severely reduce the quantity of the flounder catch in North Carolina. And what you need to understand is flounder is a migratory fish. They migrate all the way from Louisiana, around Florida, all the way back up to here, and some of them go north. And the reason they talk about southern flounders, there are 2 kinds of flounder. There's a southern flounder and a northern flounder, if you will. And the difference is one of them is right-eyed and the other one is left-eyed, and that's just the way it is when you see them. So, but the concern has been raised by about 3 or 4 counties. Dare County and at least a couple of other counties south of us have joined together the purpose of suing the state of North Carolina so that they have to go back and do a science-based, peer-reviewed study before they make this decision. There's been a political push, is the way that we got this decision was made based on politics by one of the regulatory groups. And there are 2 regulatory groups, the Division of Marine Fisheries, and there's another one that I can't think of the name of it right now, but one of them has pulled a fast move, if you will, to reduce the amount of catch. So the plea in this is, again, to go to a science-based, peer-reviewed method of determining what the flounder catch is. That's supposedly what we've been doing up till now. And you also need to understand one other thing. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble with this because it's an election year and I shouldn't be talking like this, but you have two kinds of fishermen. You have sports fishermen and you have commercial fishermen. And the battle is between sports fishermen and commercial fishermen. And there's a lot more sports fishermen in numbers than there are commercial fishermen, but there's a lot of people that make their living out of commercial fishing, and that is why Dare County and the other counties have gone into this. What I would like for us to do is to enact the resolution that we have in the book, which joins those counties in supporting the suit against the state to get us out of political decision and fishery catch and get us into peer-reviewed, science-based methodology. The fact that the flounder migrates, and if we drop our catch really low, one way of looking at this is we're raising fish for other states to catch. So this has to be a coordinated effort, and it has been up till now. Not just one state can be involved in this to make it work. Otherwise, one or two states will catch all the flounder, and then you've got a barren area. So if people don't cooperate, you get science-based, peer-reviewed, and all the states involved, it works. So we're trying to back out of that. There was a hearing last week, and within that hearing, they got a preliminary injunction. All the preliminary injunction does is tells you that there's going to be a trial to decide the issue. And my plea here is for Beaufort County to side with the, if you will, and that's a poor way of putting it. I'd rather say not to side necessarily with anybody because it's not siding with one side or the other. It's going back to a science-based, peer-reviewed method for determining what the flounder catch is. And with that, I present the motion that we have in the book here, and I'll have to find it, for that the commissioners pass this resolution in support of fair fishing, if you will.
There's
page 390.
390?
390.
Yep. Mr. Chairman,
Good.
can I speak, or do you want to make the motion first?
He made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've looked at this today, and I want to present some information. And after I present this information, I'm hoping Commissioner Richardson maybe would postpone his motion until the next meeting. We can gather more information. But let me say a few things that I want to bring up. First of all, this was brought before the Senate the last session in the budget, and it was taken out. What's happened here is the North Carolina Marine Fisheries Commission has done a study, has followed the process, and has determined that the resource of the southern flounder is in trouble. For the last 20 years, it's been overfished. In 2015, 87 to 90% of the fish was taken by commercial fishermen. In the two decades going back, 80% of the southern flounder has been taken by commercial fishermen, and it has been overfished. And what they're trying to do here is to bring the flounder back. It's impacting, and I agree with Commissioner Richardson, it's impacting the commercial fishermen. It's also, it will impact the recreational fishermen. It will impact those parents that want to take their children fishing for the southern flounder because it increases the size to 15 inches. It closes the fishing from October 1st to December 31st. It decreases the mesh gills on the gill nets. It decreases the size, the inch size, so it wouldn't take as many as the smaller fish. It's going to have, if we don't do something, and we're one of the few states that hasn't done anything in the United States that has flounder population, we are going to be out of the southern flounder. We're going to have very few yields. It's going to ultimately impact the commercial fishermen and their livelihood, and it's going to impact even more than it is now the recreational fishermen. So I'm hoping that Commissioner Richardson would hold off until we got more information. We brought in speakers from the Coastal Conservation Association to speak on this issue. We bring in some of the small businessmen that actually fish and charter their boats on the river and on Blount's Creek for flounder and see what they have to say about this. before we make a decision on this, because we have the North Carolina Fisheries Association, which is commercial fishermen, that I said tried to get the Senate to do something, and it was pulled out of the budget. And we also have the conservationists and the fishermen that fish this area, and I'd like to hear both sides of the story before we move any further on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Brand.
I don't have a horse in this race, but I do remember a few years ago that the marine fisheries stopped catching of the herring in Beaufort County and surrounding waters. And once they, got to understand, once they make that decision to limit the amount of catch that these people can have, it's going to be a hard thing to reverse. And I don't, right now, we still can't catch herring in Beaufort County water and surrounding waters. And that's been 7-8 years ago. Like I said, I don't have a horse in the race, but I have to agree with Commissioner Buzzio that I would like to see more information on Hood if we could maybe get somebody in here and talk to us about it, 'cause I know very little about it.
Well, I mean, I can speak to that. Time is of the essence in this matter because the injunction, the suit is going to be within probably the next month or so. If you wait till next month, the whole issue will have gone by Beaufort County. Now, I don't disagree with Commissioner Buzzio and what he's saying. No question, flounder catch is under stress. And I think what is going to come out of this, and one of the reasons that I think we can support it going forward in the interest of our commercial fishermen, is that there's going to be a reduced flounder catch when it's over with. There's going to be changes in gill nets when it's over with. It's not going to stay like it is because the issue has been raised. But the lawsuit in North Carolina is important from this standpoint. The fact that we're having a lawsuit here is probably going to drive North Carolina to have to get with all of the other states to come back, and they're doing it now. They're talking to each other, but it's going to force them to do something that's a lot more definitive about the flounder catch. And we can't do it by ourselves. All the other states have to join with us. We all have to be together. I think it's important that we go forward with this, time being of the essence with the lawsuit that's coming up. If you wait until next month, I think it'll be a non-issue. It'll be the same thing as tabling it. The resolution is a resolution of support. It's not going to cost us any money. It's lending ourselves to what these people are asking for. And they're not asking to keep the catch the same as it is. In the resolution, in the lawsuit, they're not asking for that. What they're asking for is, if you're going to change it, let's make sure that we have based on science and peer-reviewed so that everybody's in agreement. Now, what that's going to mean ultimately is a lot of other states are going to have to come on board with this. That's going to supposedly bring them to the point that they're going to be reducing their amount of catch also and changing their regulations to support the whole fishery. So if you don't go forward with this tonight, you're abandoning your local commercial fishermen.
Okay. Commissioner Waters.
Mr. Chairman, I think sometimes when we talk about commercial fishermen, we think of the real large trawler that has the big nets that go out there and grab a whole lot of them. I can tell you, for example, on Saturday, one of the local fishermen out of Belhaven caught 40 pounds. And they sold the 40 pounds to one of the restaurants in Belhaven, and I ate one Saturday night. I don't, to me, I guess what we're leading up to is some sort of a quota. And basically what happens is, everybody else wants us to do something, and they're not willing to do it. And because they move, I think we need to protect what we've got here. I'm not opposed to doing the quota, but I hate to see you take that business away from a small commercial fisherman that, that's just subsidizing their other livelihood. And this was just 40 pounds. I mean, this was not 4,000 pounds. It was caught by a big trawler someplace.
Okay. Anything further?
Mr. Chairman, I called a friend of mine that used to work over at the Natural Resources and got him to call the local head of marine fisheries here, and you're not going to find anybody from marine fisheries that's going to come talk to you about this as long as it's under litigation. They're not going to say anything. We tried to get the lady to talk today, and she just refused. I mean, I wanted to know right and wrong on this. You know, we contacted the group down in that's listed here. Contacted the head of that group. Now he talked about it, but the marine fisheries just not going to talk to you because they're under litigation. They just kind of I guess a gag order on them because of the suit.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Commissioner Belcher. I tried to talk to them today, too, and the only people I could get to talk to me, they wouldn't, because under litigation, with a Judge Jolly, I think his name is. But I did talk to, like I said, a couple of the charter fishermen here on the river, and also the Coastal Conservation Commission. So it's the way I look at this is it's, and I understand, I'm talking about the commercial fishermen. And if we don't do something here, you have a lot of commercial fishermen coming in from other states, taking the flounder. It's not only this area that we're talking about. So we're talking about is do we stand with the recreational fishermen? Do we stand with the charter fishermen vis-a-vis these large mesh grilled fishermen?
But I go back and tell you again, what the lawsuit is about science-based, peer-reviewed solution to the problem. And if the judge rules in that favor, then you're going to have all of the stakeholders and a lot of the states involved in the solution. What they're asking for is certainly something that's honorable. They're not saying protect our catch, let us keep catching what we're catching. They're saying, yeah, we understand there's a problem. We just think the state has acted arbitrarily and heavy-handedly, and they have not had a science-based, peer-reviewed solution to the problem. One entity, one side of this issue has made a decision, and they're dragging everybody else along. And everybody has to be involved in order to have a solution, and that's what we're looking for as a solution. And the counties, those counties, Dare County, Carteret County, I believe it is, the counties that have started this lawsuit, that's all they're asking for is fairness. So, you know, you will be on the side of fairness, but you will be abandoning your local commercial fishermen if we don't ask for fairness on this issue.
All right, all in favor of Commissioner Richards' motion, raise your right hand. All opposed? 6-1. Your next item, number 10.
Oh, yeah, number 10, this is going to be a good one. It's not quite stated the way I like it stated in here, but she did what I told her to do, so I can't complain. This is a proposal that we allow county employees who have concealed carry permits to bring their guns to work, if you will, and that we do away with security at the courthouse. I think that Sheriff Coleman had already made the statement. There's already more guns in the courthouse than there is anywhere else in Beaufort County. So why do we need someone at the gate to criminalize everybody that comes into the courthouse? So my motion is that we allow county employees who have concealed carry permits to bring their guns to work, and that we do away with the courthouse security.
Mr. Chairman.
A savings of $300,000 a year.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Can I have something to say before we second that?
Good.
Hood, I can support you on your motion for carry if you would separate the two from each other.
You're talking about abandoning one part of this then?
Yes.
If you separate the two. Well, okay, I can make.
Like what I'm saying is I can support you on the concealed carry, but I can't support.
That's what I thought. Okay, well, that's fine. That's progress as far as I'm concerned for me. I would be delighted if I can get a second, because I don't think I'm even going to get a second for this any other way. Then I move that county employees who have concealed carry permits be allowed to bring their weapons to work.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
Withdraw the first one.
I second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? It fails. 3, 4.
I hope nobody come in with your Joe and ISIS.
I make a motion that we not bring this item back up for 6 months.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? That failed. Next item.
Okay, let's see.
Public landing at
Pantego Creek. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put that item off until after the break, and the reason is that the town manager from Bellhaven has been asked to be here in case there were questions.
All right, let's do your item number 18.
Do item 18? Oh, okay. That particular item has to do, the proposed resolution is fine. This is let me get myself, you caught me here. You caught me here. This is for a grant award and adopt project budget ordinance for Project Husky, Huscat USA LLC building reuse for a grant. Martin Johnson, is Martin still here? And the Economic Development Director. And I don't have a problem with the project, I don't have a problem with the grant, but there's language in the discussion that says that the owner of the project is willing to sign a contract or a note with the county protecting the amount of the grant in case he can't produce the number of jobs that he's promised to produce. That's not a part of the resolution that we're passing. And what I would like to have is that added to the resolution.
We've actually had a conversation. He has signed the agreement, and the county attorney had that taken care of. He has some concerns about that, the way it was written, in that it encompasses the entire parcel and all the buildings, and he has asked that we redo that such that it encompasses only the building that's being upgraded, which I think is a fair.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
It's fair. So David's actually going to work on that. But that is part of the reason why we have that clawback, so that there is protection on that.
All right, will it clean this thing up if I make the motion that we pass this resolution with that addition to it, that there is a note to protect the county?
We actually currently have a note.
No. I want it within the resolution.
Oh, okay.
Because it's in the text right now. It's in the discussion text. It's not a part of the resolution.
We can certainly add that. I mean, we actually already have that lien right now. He's already.
Well, I know you're already doing it, but I've been a commissioner now for 20 years, you notice, and I know that if this thing is not in this resolution, you don't have to do it. And I've had people come back and tell me, oh, well, you know that, you may have talked about that, but you really didn't vote on it. So I want it as a part of the item to be sure the county's protected.
All right, that's your motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
If you understand that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 7-0.
Mr. Chairman, I just noticed the manager.
Okay.
Okay, this is an item which I think is already over with before it got here, and that is to move the proposed boat landing facility that the state is going to provide us with from the tract of land, and what do we call that tract of land where the old shingle mill was?
Cooperage.
The Cooperage tract, yeah, that's a barrel. The old Cooperage tract at Bellhaven, that we move it to the Tillman tract that's next to it, that's being donated. You know, the reason that we're pushing for this, and I think Bellhaven has pushed for this, is that the Cooperage tract is a very valuable piece of property if you look at it from the standpoint of long-term possibilities for the town of Bellhaven. It is so visible. It's got such a great boat launching facility in there now, and a lot of it is on high ground. The Tillman tract is next door. You have to cross the railroad track to get to it to use it. We think all that can be worked out. So we're actually making a piece of property very valuable in doing this. And my understanding is the mayor has requested that, the council has requested it, and I don't think anybody in the county has an objection. So I think the problem solved itself before it got here.
Okay.
I mean, unless
Yeah, I'll be glad to give a little background on it. We did have a conversation, staff had a conversation with Mr. Jarvis as well as the mayor and the mayor pro tem. At the time that we were working with wildlife, the Tillman tract wasn't on board then. Originally, the Cooperage piece and the Tillman tract was on board to start with. The Tillman track fell off. Wildlife went in, did their design on the Cooperage piece. The Tillman track came back on board. The request was made to look at the Tillman track. Wildlife actually likes that location. Sarah Sherman, who is one of the engineers with Wildlife, is currently redrawing those plans. And the only question that they have is the railroad track, and they're trying to get some guidance from their council to make sure they're okay. I think essentially what they talked about was there's already an existing crossing that goes to the town's pier, and if they could use that instead of asking for an additional crossing to the railroad, it may be simpler and easier just to come in that tract of land and then cut across. And Mr. Jarvis said he didn't think that would be a problem.
Okay, I don't know that we need to do any action as far as that goes, other than we're on board with moving it to the Tillman track.
It was in consent, and we didn't approve it along with the,
No, this was not in consent.
we didn't put this from the consent? Where we pull it from?
No, this was a.
I'm lost again.
This was an agenda item that I put on here.
13.
Yeah, we didn't have it in consent.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question. Is the Wildlife Commission looking at doing restroom facilities on the Tillman track?
Where's Seth?
They said they would do them on the Cooperage track if somebody would take care of them. Though I think they're willing to build them. We haven't asked them that question. I guess in some ways we assumed what they were going to do on Cooperage, they would do on Tillman. But we can ask them that, to be sure. But it would take somebody locally to maintain them because they basically just cut the grass.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item 12?
Okay, this is another item that's cost the county a lot of money. I'm making a resolution that resolve not to participate in the funding or the financing of an industrial speculative building until after June of 2018. And I put a time limit on it because something may come up that we may want to do this. But the last spec building that we built was called the Blue Goose. It was called the Blue Goose for a reason. They painted it that particular shade of blue after the drug company because they were trying to sell it to the drug company. Well, the drug company didn't buy it. We lost $1.75 million on that deal of building a speculative building. Beaufort County, the county itself, the staff, the whole mess, and the committee, nor the Committee of 100, have the people who have the skill, ability, and the commitment to put together a deal like this and make it work. All that we have ever done is throw money at these things, and we've lost money on every one of them. Now, the big sale in the past has been, oh, government has to do this. Well, let me tell you that a lot of places that you go to, government doesn't do this at all. Government will help a local developer or speculative contractor to build a building, and they'll help them try to sell it. But the loss of the money is in the hands of the speculator. That's why it's called a spec building, speculation. We don't need to be speculating with county money in these amounts. $1.75 million was lost on the last one when you put in what we gave away, which was about $200,000 or $300,000 in tax credits, tax benefits to the people that got it. Yes, there's great business out there going and a lot of jobs and all that sort of thing. That's fine. But the taxpayers, when taxpayers start getting involved in the building of buildings for speculation, we're getting into one of those isms kind of government called socialism, communism, fascism. We're getting into the isms. We don't need to be doing that. Taxpayers need to keep their money, let the speculators build the spec buildings, and make the money if there's money to be made. So my motion is that we not participate in any new speculative industrial buildings until after 2018.
Is there a second to that motion? It dies for lack of a second. Your next item. No, we'll take our break. It's 7. We will take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back. All right, we're back in session. We're still with Commissioner Richardson. Item 13.
All right, item 13, private laboratories for forensic analysis. The manager called me this week. He's managed to get a meeting with someone from the sheriff's office and the district attorney's office for when? Friday?
This Friday.
This Friday, this coming Friday. So there's really not anything to report on that other than we're having a meeting.
Okay.
When is that meeting going to be, Hood?
It's Friday at 10?
Here at the county office?
I think so, yeah.
It is at 9.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock?
Yep. It's going to be here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This-
Right here. Item 14.
I'm going to make my motion again that we do a forensic or management audit of the Chocowinity EMS because there's a lot of things going on over there that are not good. And nothing that I hear from that place is good in terms of managing money, efficiency of operations, or anything else, and we definitely need to do a forensic audit, and that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? It dies for lack of second.
Okay, I guess my next item is radio communications contract. We really need, it's not fair to the public to not put all of these proposals on the table and look at them and see how they work and see if you're getting your money's worth. There is $600,000 of difference between these two bids. $1.8 million for one bid and $1.2 million for another bid, I've been told unofficially, for a comparable system that will do the same thing. So we owe it to the taxpayers to protect their $600,000 to put all this stuff on the table and give it an honest look, because what you're doing, I'll say it publicly, it's bid rigging, folks. That's all it is. It's bid rigging. So I move that we look at this issue again in such a way that we have more bidders and we put all of the bids on the table. We don't disqualify people and refuse to open their bid because they are being represented by one company or one institution rather than another one. That is wrong. That is my motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, before I second that motion, I'd just like to get some information from the county manager. When those bids were sent out, wasn't there a stipulation that all the equipment had to be by one manufacturer?
The stipulation was that it come from the manufacturer. I mean, you can't necessarily make every bit of everything that you do.
Right.
But that the system would come from the manufacturer of the radio system manufacturers, not their sales reps or their vendors or service providers.
So these other bidders didn't follow the guidelines of the bid, is that correct?
Again, there were two bid. The other bid that was received was from Communications International. Communications International is a third-party reseller and a vendor for Harris Corporation. Harris Corporation declined to bid on it. And my understanding was in the conversations initially during the due diligence process, Communications International asked that question. It was explained to them. They said, we'll get Harris to stand behind it. And then they didn't. We postponed the bids, and they said, okay, we'll take care of it again. And then the second time they came in, they had been told several times that it had to come from Harris, the manufacturer.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and second Hood's motion because I don't like the thoughts of spending $1.8 million. I think if we could get it done for $1 million or $1.2 million, then that's the way we ought to go. So I'm going to second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, this Board of Commissioners already approved this contract, and as far as I know, it's been signed.
Wait a minute. The contract has been signed. Didn't we sit in this meeting at the last meeting and say there was going to be a meeting to look at the we didn't have a contract in our hands. That is so far out, that is unreal. You know, you're saying I approved a contract that I never saw. That is not going to fly in any court in the United States. If that contract has already been signed, Mr. Manager, you sat here and said you were going to call a special meeting during the month when you got the contract revised so that it could be approved. And now you're telling me that somebody has signed the contract and wasted $600,000 of the taxpayers' money.
Commissioner Richardson, what I said to the board was if the board wanted to do that, we would bring it back to them. The board took a motion to approve, and in fact, I'll read it in the minutes.
Oh, I've read the minutes. The minutes don't look anything like what I remember happened at the meeting. Because I was sitting here saying, and again, you saw where I pushed the point a while ago about getting the item in the resolution, because people come back to you and tell you, oh, you must have been smoking dope when we did this because we did something different. Now, that's what we're into right now with this particular issue. This is all a big game and a big charade. We owe it to the taxpayers to save their $600,000, and we can have an equivalent system. This is a really big problem.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the minutes have approved it, and we unanimously, with the vote, I think, was 6 to 1, I think it was.
No, couldn't it be?
We approved it, and we approved the minutes.
6 to 1?
Yeah. On the funding, it was 6 to 1. The first one was 5 to 2, and the second one was 6 to 1.
Lord, how much?
Yeah, Gary voted against the way that we were funding it.
Well, we got 8 commissioners then.
But
it was 5 to 2 on approving it, and then on the funding was 6 to 1.
I've always found that if you've made a mistake, it's always smart to admit you made a mistake and go back and fix it. I don't know about you guys.
Well, see, the conversation was when the vote changed was Hood voted with us
That's right.
on the funding part of it.
Mr. Chairman, the minutes reflect that there was a motion, Commissioner Richardson made a motion that we send this back and we engage multiple bidders without the requirement that one manufacturer has manufactured everything that goes in. Vice Chairman Brin seconded. The vote was 2 to 5 against. 2 in favor, 5 against, so that motion failed. You went through some additional discussion, and the motion was made. Commissioner Budgeau moved to award the contract to Motorola. Commissioner Waters seconded. The vote was 5 in favor, 2 against. And we moved forward.
But the board did not have the information that there was $600,000 laying on the table.
We opened one bid.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, gee, one bid. Gee, that smacks of something, doesn't it?
That was the bid that was.
Yeah, but you sent it back. When you sent it back, you only gave those people about 2 or 3 weeks to get their act together. And the way it had to be bid when it came back, it would have taken a bidder to put together something, a couple of months at least, to put something together with his various constituents to make something work. You did a fast hand on them.
No, sir. No, sir. Absolutely not. We did not do a fast hand on that. And I don't appreciate that insinuation.
It's standing. And you cannot appreciate it if you want to, but you're looking at a single bid, Mr. Manager, with a $600,000 left laying on the table.
Commissioner
a
Richardson,
single bid.
That bid was not open, so I don't know what that number was.
Okay, that's it for that.
Point of order, Mr.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and it's my understanding what Commissioner Richardson wants to do is he wants us to go back and fix it. So basically what the motion is right now is, are we gonna honor what we did at last meeting, or are we gonna go back? Let's look at it that way. Can we do it that way? You understand what I'm saying? His motion is for us to redo everything that we've done. My thoughts are, what's done is done. But the motion is out there, the second is out there. So what I'm saying is, can we just deal with it and let's just move on?
Yeah.
Well, you can do it, but I mean, the taxpayers are sitting out there looking at this.
We understand that.
With a single bid, rigged bid. I'll say it over and over. That was a rigged bid.
Mr. Chair, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
He keeps saying it's a rigged bid. We bidded it out 2 times. If
That's
memory
right.
No,
serves.
you didn't. You didn't
bid it out
honestly
2
bid it
times.
the second time. That was a charade.
That's what you call
You
it.
gave them so little time to come back. They didn't have time to do anything.
That's what you call it, Mr. Richardson, 'cause you.
Did you?
Yeah, well, I think that if Ed's talking, he needs to be given the opportunity to talk and not be interrupted.
Well, I think what we need to do is just go ahead and
Vote.
and vote and just so we can move on, because I think right now we're just getting to the point
Silly season.
we're just wasting time. All in favor of Commissioner Richardson's motion, raise your right hand. All opposed? It failed.
See how simple that was?
County Attorney.
Page number here.
397.
This is a piece of property. And I don't know whether this gentleman is here tonight. He's here. There he is. Good. He did come, and he is offering $1,000 for 2 lots that are owned by the county on 5th Street, if I understand it. And Mr. Wayne Langston, or his corporation, Coast to Coast Group LLC. Based on that offer of $1,000, he gave a check payable to both the county for $50. I'm not taking a position on this. It's you tell me. I do point out that the amount that we have heretofore gone by is $5,500, the so-called price that we have on our printout sheet, which would require a $275 deposit, which is a 5% deposit, if he offered what we had on our sheet. But he's offered substantially less, $1,000. But he might like to be heard, and that's he's here to tell you why he thinks that is a good offer, if you'd like to.
Appreciate your time. The offer of $5,500, I believe, is the offer that the county took it back in when they tax foreclosed on it a few years ago. And obviously, they've owned it for several years, not getting any tax dollars off of it. I've got an early quick answer from John Robin that I can do some type of business there. I don't know what yet. So I've offered $1,000. My intention is to put some kind of commercial building there that'll be something you can tax and get some revenue off of. Right now, it's not costing, it's not generating anything for you. I think in the past, it's been a residential lot from years gone by. Right now, it's just sitting there doing nothing for you. You'll take my offer. I'll make it a win-win situation for both of us.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Our list of properties that we have is growing, no doubt about it. We've probably got, 150 properties now? Bellhaven has a lot of properties in it, as an example. These are 2 lots that you have to have them together to make them usable. Either one lot by itself is not usable. You have to combine the 2 lots, and then you probably, I don't know, are they 60 feet wide together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm forgetting some of this stuff back on the payroll. And nobody else very few people are going to, I can't say nobody, but very few people are going to want to buy this. Let's go ahead and take the loss. We got our money out there. We're supposed to be paying the city or somebody to maintain and mow those lots and keep them up. Let's take the loss and get some of this property back on the tax rolls, because the prices of the property is still going down.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Isn't it our policy that we get just at least the tax values out of it?
It has been in the past.
That's what we've been trying to do.
That's what
I
I
agree,
thought.
but
How much acreage is there?
It's not much.
well, square feet's more like it. It looks like it's about 60 by 150, maybe 200, may go to 200.
I don't think it's quite that big.
You don't? Okay.
And I'm
Just a
for the
little over
general.
1 acre, I think.
Is it an acre?
Acre?
No, they can't be an acre. there.
.03 and a .08, according to.
That's 11/100ths of an acre, 1/10 of an acre.
1/10 of an acre.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
1/10 of an acre.
Yeah, but those decimal places in the right place.
Thank you.
Got footage on Fifth Street.
That means it's got 4,000 square feet.
Sir.
Right.
Is there footage
Yeah.
on the street at Fifth
There's
Street?
footage on the street.
60 feet, is that about?
Roughly 60.
Those 2 lots together, the city will allow you to do, I think it's a 10%, and Brian probably knows better than I do, but a 10% of meeting of the setbacks and all that sort of stuff, variance on a substandard lot like this. So he's right, he can probably get something on it. It's not going to be a big deal.
Mr. Langston, how soon, if we were to allow this to go for $1,000, how soon before you would do something on it?
6 to 12 months.
6 to 12 months?
I'm not looking to do anything until the springtime. I can answer that.
Mr. Chairman?
Good.
Do we know what the tax valuation of the property is, or the valuation for tax purposes?
It can't be much because a residential lot
Yeah.
is only, even now, is only about $5,000 on those R6 lots.
According to the tax record, it shows the sales price at $5,500.
That's one of them. Two, both of them.
That's the sale price.
That's for both of them. That's what you took it back in, including your.
That's what we had in it when we took it back.
Brian, can you look at that thing and tell how that's zoned there?
Residential?
It's probably R6, but there's businesses along there. He's got business on both sides of him, so the city will.
There's business on one side, residential on the other.
Yeah, okay,
Business
but on the
across.
corner is business, though. He's got a residence, but he's got a business on the corner, so
Large.
he's in a transitional zone, and they would let him rezone that and get a special use permit.
What have those lots been used for in the past?
A house?
House?
The only problem I have is we set a policy that we get at least what the county got in them. I want the gentleman to have them just as bad as he wanted them. But it's not fair. One person come and you hold them to a standard, and another person come and you reduce your standard. And I think we should get at least.
Well, you've got to, if you accept my bid, you've got to put it under a 10-day upset period, gives everybody else opportunity to buy.
I understand that, but our policy says that when we sell a piece of property, and this was voted on.
I understand that, but I want to create a win-win situation for you. You're not getting nothing for it now. It's going to be a commercial building on it.
Ed, I'm willing to change the policy
I
to
figure
get
you-
rid of this
Policy should
property.
be
We
that
need to
you
get
get
this
revenue.
property back on the.
I figured you would be willing to change it because you're the one that helped us set it.
Yeah, I did.
I figured-
But I'm willing to change it. I mean, I can admit I've made a mistake.
Yeah.
The rest of you guys don't seem to be able to.
I'm not saying it's a mistake, but you take like somebody like Cumberland County has the same policy, and they've got lots on their list dating back to early 90s because they're not flexible enough or smart enough to take, and I'm not trying to insult them.
Right on.
They're not smart enough to let somebody take something and do something with it. I understand, you looking at a $2,000 loss, I'm saying I'm gonna put something up there that you're gonna get some revenue off of forever.
Well, let me tell you something, bud.
And the next time if it goes into tax foreclosure, somebody will buy it, the county won't have to buy it.
Well, let me tell you something. Like I
If it
said,
does.
since I'm not smart enough
I wasn't saying that.
to understand what you're saying, I want
No,
to tell
I
you.
wasn't saying that at all. I'm just saying
Just
it.
hold.
I want you to have the property. But what I'm saying is, it was he's the one caused this policy. Now, now it sounds like to me, now he went to change his own policy. It's not about you. It's about
I understand why you have the policy.
And why you have the, good question.
I understand why you
There
have
were some poor people came in here that some churches got together and helped them raise the money to keep some property. Am I correct?
Right.
And he raised all kind of hell. We got to have at least the tax dollars out of it. We got to have at least the tax. Now, here it is here thinking you're wrong.
Well,
he went to change
I'm just
it.
saying, if
But
that's
the
what he
real
said,
estate boom is over
not the way
with.
to look
All
at
right,
it.
hold on, we're getting out of order.
Take a
here.
vote. Take a vote.
No, this is
I got your point.
This is basically what we're gonna do, and this is honestly what I think we should do, is not to do anything with this issue tonight, and allow Commissioner Richardson, if he wants to change it, set it for the agenda in November, and we can deal with it.
That's fine. I think, Mr. Chairman, that's good.
All right, that's the right way, because as long as that roof is like it is right now, I mean, it would be wrong to do it any other way.
Ain't nobody gonna steal the
And it's
money.
nothing against you.
No, I ain't got no problem with you.
It's nothing.
I remember you a long time ago.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I still want to know, Brian, County Manager, is the assessed valuation of this property $5,500? That's the assessed
I
valuation?
know, it doesn't show on the.
Okay.
It doesn't show on that side.
Yeah, I know, I didn't see it on here.
My understanding, if I understood the attorney correctly, is that we had $5,500 in
Actually,
taxes that we did not
That was owed to
collect.
us.
So it's a matter of avoidance. It's not a matter of expense. It probably cost us $600 or $700 to get the lot. But we had that much taxes against it when you add it
I know
all
that,
up.
but my question is, what's the valuation of the property?
You have it on the books at about 13.5, the two properties together.
13.5.
$13,500.
That's what you're.
But nobody wants them, so what is it worth? You know, it's what a buyer's willing to pay. So I don't see people lining up to pay $13,500 where they are.
The slime is you give me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, item 17, Old Forward Clark's Neck EMS contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is the item, as you recall, the the last 2 months, you've been having discussions with the city of Washington regarding EMS in general. One of those conversations was in regards to the contract that the county currently has with the city to provide EMS coverage in the Clarks Neck and Old Volunteer Fire Department districts, those fire districts. The city is providing that contract. And that contract is due to be up June 30th of 17. It renews, if there is not 90 days notice before the expiration of the term, it renews on the same level of, on the same terms and conditions in which it existed. Currently, for 1-year terms. Currently, the contract does not necessarily require a paramedic level response. Actually, I believe when the contract was put together, Washington wasn't at the paramedic level. They were still at the intermediate level. So sometimes there's a paramedic going, sometimes there's not, and it depends upon their staffing levels. They are in compliance with the contract. I want that to be really clear because that was a question that was asked at the last committee meeting. They wanted to make sure that we weren't accusing them of not fulfilling the contract. They are fulfilling the contract exactly the way it is written. I want everybody to clearly understand that. They are doing exactly what the contract says they will do. At the last committee meeting with the city representatives and the county representatives, we were asked to bring back proposals based on numbers about serving that area. We put our numbers together. We presented those to the committee. The city of Washington put their number together to present to the committee. Essentially, the committee said the county commissioners have got to decide what they want to do about that contract before we move forward with additional conversations with the EMS committee. So essentially what we've given you are 3 options that came out of that last EMS committee meeting. First of all, it's just status quo, leave it the way it is, let the contract renew. At the end of this fiscal year, it would renew. In the contract, there's a 2% escalator every year, so that contract would go up by 2% to $157,255. The tax rate in that district, in that combined district, would stay at 4.5 cents per $100 of valuations, and the EMS units would continue to respond from inside the city. You know how that works. Those units are stationed inside the city. They're not stationed outside the city. They're not stationed in the district. They're stationed in the city, and they respond out when needed. And it would be exactly the way it's responding now. The second proposal that was put forth was that the contract not be renewed and the county provide coverage in that area by stationing a paramedic level ambulance at one of the fire departments located in that district. If that were to occur, then there would need to be an increase in the in the EMS tax in that area to the maximum, which is 5 cents. And using the billing services and the revenues that are collected and the tax revenues coming from that, there would still need to be an additional estimated appropriation of about $121,000 from the general fund to be able to support that unit. And then the third option that we asked the city about was if they were to provide a dedicated unit that was dedicated to EMS only, because I'm sure you understand in their situation, they are staffed to fight fire. They are not necessarily staffed to run EMS. Their firefighters are paramedics, so they are able to run EMS. When there is a fire call in the city that requires a response, a large response, both of the EMS trucks go to that because they need those personnel to respond for the fire call. So what they've said is if they needed to pull a unit out and make it EMS dedicated only, they could do that. It would be an additional cost of about $572,000 to do that. So at the last EMS committee meeting between the City of Washington and the County Commissioners Subcommittee, the question, that was all these things were discussed, and direction going back was the County Commissioners need to determine, first of all, what they want to do with that contract, and then that would allow the community to continue and finish its efforts. So those are essentially the 3 options that are available. Be glad to answer any questions regarding those that you may have.
Who's our representative on the committee?
I am Belcher.
Let me say this. As far as I'm concerned, Option 3, to me, is off the table.
That is correct.
Me too.
They're not adding another EMS ambulance. It's the same 2 ambulances, it's just that they're dedicating one of them to EMS only. When I first heard them, I thought they were putting in a 3rd ambulance, which was going to be great. I could live with that, but that's not the case. So, and even more importantly than that, the extra cost to us would be $572,000, and that's not going to fly with me. So I think we can look at options 1 and 2, but as far as I'm concerned, we just scratch 3.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Breen.
Mr. Manager, is option number 1, that's as it is right now, is it working properly?
It is working exactly the way the contract is written, and you have a copy of the contract attached to the agenda item.
And has anybody complained about option 1, the way it's being handled by our services?
I mean, what I would say to you is you received a letter today from an industry, from a business that's in that area, asking about an increased level of response based upon some concerns they had. You would have to talk to the people who live in that community.
The way I understand it, if Washington's units are out on calls, then we have a mutual aid agreement that Chocowindy will come in and place a unit somewhere around the Murphy store out in on 264. Is that correct?
We have
Sheets.
We have
Sheets, yeah.
We have move-up agreements where county units, whether they be a county-owned unit or whether it be a volunteer county in the county unit, they will move up as we request them to move when resources go out of place. The city of Washington is unable to do that because they have to keep their units in the city because they are staffed to fight fire.
See, the problem, and I can say this because the problem for us who live out there is this. If they've got a lot of stuff going on here in the city of Washington and someone dials 911, we get 0. Because basically you depended on one of the other trucks to fill in for them. And what I'm saying is we're paying for a service, but if push came to shove and there was really something wrong, they had something going on in the city, and somebody 17 North, 264 West needed EMS, they get nothing except an extended response from some other agency from some other part of the county. See, so this is just my opinion because I live out in the Old Ford area. I would rather see us have a truck in our catchment area that will be dedicated to us. Sure, we will do the mutual aid if that's what's required of us, but basically, we will have a truck that is dedicated to service the people who live in that portion of the county. And I will add this to you. My whole mindset is that the county have a EMS county-wide service so that everybody in this county can get the same quality of service. How long that will take to come to pass, I don't know. But my thoughts are, right now, we need to do our own thing and improve things north and west of Washington.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may. I agree, option 3, as far as I'm concerned, is off the table. I personally favor option 2, and I'll tell you why. When you look at option 1, it talks about the city will provide a vehicle when available at the certification level staffed at that time. When you look at state law, when it comes to EMS service being provided, the law states that, or the regulation, I should say, states that county government shall establish EMS systems. Each EMS system shall have, and the county is defined as a geographical service area for the EMS system. And there may be multiple EMS providers, service areas within the service area of the EMS system. However, the highest level of care offered within any EMS provider service area must be available to the citizens within that service area. And the way I interpret that is, if we have paramedic level service to the other residents of this county, we're required or should be working towards having paramedic level service for all residents of this county. Therefore, I would agree with the chairman. that the county should take over based upon option 2, and we should place a paramedic level vehicle in that area to take care of the residents of that area of the county.
Commissioner Budget, the one response I'd have on that is that I believe that the paramedic level response has to be on the first out unit. I mean, you could have 5 units in the house, and as long as you get the first unit out at the paramedic level, I'm looking at the guys.
Yes, correct.
That you've met that duty based upon the statute.
And I agree with you on that. However, since we're signing a contract with another jurisdiction, we can't guarantee that the first unit out to that jurisdiction, which is different than Washington, would be paramedic level service. And I would agree with the chairman that we should be moving in that direction, and all forts should have a paramedic level vehicle in there as per option 2.
Any other?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I interpreted that regulation. It says you define the district, and then you define the level in the district. It doesn't say you define the level for the whole county at all. It says by the district. So it can be whatever is the first unit out, as we were talking here, or it can be a basic or an intermediate level if the commissioners define it that way. You're getting by default, under the present system, paramedic level of service for the most part. Keep in mind that only about 10 or 15% of these calls are paramedics level anyway. So it gets to be a really big deal. Well, we'll look at your billing. We can tell you when we look at the billing, because that's what's going to determine it. Now, there's some unintended consequences in going with item 2, because it may look like you're doing a big deal for changing this thing over, but when you do this, the city of Washington, I'm predicting, is going to tell you, hey, here's all of our services. You guys wanted them. Now you've got the whole city to run. So, and you're going to have expenses within this of at least another $500,000. So you really need to stop and consider what you're doing and what you pass here tonight, because there are unintended consequences that go far beyond the $121,000 that's in this. I have a philosophy that says if it's working, why do you want to mess with it? So, and I don't know of anyone that's been denied service in the Washington, in the Old Ford district. I understand what the chairman is saying, and I don't disagree with him in what he's saying, but I don't know that that has actually happened, that anybody has been denied service at all. And you all have to keep in mind, and I'm a heartless fool, I understand, that there's nothing wrong with somebody throwing you in your car and driving you to the emergency room if you're having to wait. I mean, that's the way the world works. You may want all this high-class services, but if you want to stay alive, waiting 35 and 40 minutes for an ambulance to arrive to stop your bleeding versus going to the emergency room are two different things. So that's the practicalities of this.
I got a
Mr.
question.
Commissioner Booth, he hasn't been yet.
I'll tell you what, through this comedy jam. What Mr. Richardson just stated, that if you go to a unit in Old Ford, and he stated that if you do that, Washington just tell you, come on, you start covering Washington too. What is the likelihood that would happen? The scenario he just gave us.
Actually, we had that discussion at the EMS committee meeting as well. We ran that scenario, and I think the city would tell you the same thing as what we said. That really doesn't make sense to do that. The city, it would be a tremendous financial burden on the city, is what it would be, because they would, if they stepped out of that role and the county picked it up based on the numbers that we ran, and we were conservative in our numbers, that we could make it break even or do a little better, and then they would be out about $1 million in revenue that they would have to make up some other way. So our suggestion in conversation was we needed to leave that alone. And I think the city felt, I mean, I can't speak for the city, but it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense for us to say we want to do that. The city needs to continue to do that based on their model, based upon their revenue stream off of that. They're comfortable with that. Their city council is happy the way that runs, and I think that's the way it ought to stay.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been to one of these EMS meetings. That's the reason I asked who was our representative. But I was listening at the tape and at City Hall, and they said the only thing we want is to be left alone. What do left alone mean?
We can ready to show them.
I mean, I'm gonna know because I don't know how to vote on this thing. I'm trying to get to see if there was what I'm trying to say. If we go ahead on it, and when the end of this deal, this gentleman's deal come, and they walk up to us and say, "Well, look, y'all just take it, get by." Where are we then? That's what I'm.
Mr. Manager, let me
Yeah, please do.
speak to that. Basically, what they would like to keep is the Old Ford and Clark's Neck area because it's a revenue stream of $157,000 to them that they don't have to spend any more money to do. Whatever money they're spending now, they'll continue to spend the same amount of money if we take it over. So that's just basically what it means to them, being left alone, is that they get to keep the $157,000. If we choose to put an ambulance out in this area, it's going to take $157,000 out of their revenue stream that they're going to have to make up somehow. Would you not agree with that, Brian?
That's correct.
That's the way I interpret it.
Yes, sir.
And I feel sorry for them from that aspect, because that's a considerable amount of money, but also, I want to look after Jerry Langley if he has a heart attack out there and have him a paramedic vehicle ready.
Right, because we'll pump in my chest. I don't want them to run out of breath.
Alice
So I
ain't
want
gonna pick
somebody
you
to
up,
come
put you in the car now.
You got that right.
Well, everybody's got neighbors, for crying out loud. Come on, let's all get in the real world.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Waters.
In addition to the tax money, you're looking at also the EMS billing, so it's, it's a little bit more of a hit than just the tax revenue. I don't know whether you add another $150,000 on the third-party billing or not.
It's at least that much.
The concern I had is that I sat through the discussion at the Extension Auditorium when we had the first meeting, when the city of Washington dropped that decision that they wanted to get at, and they wanted us to take it over. And I heard the mayor and I heard the city manager say, both of them, financially, we're doing well, do not touch us, do not leave us alone. And I think that, at least I can't answer for the other commissioners, but I've made a commitment to do paramedic service all over this county. And to me, we're not doing that for Old Ford, and we're not doing it for Clark's Neck. Think about it. Our two major highways, 17 and 264. 17 going north, 264 going west. Look at the tax base and the people that are out there. East Coast Equipment on 17 handles all kinds of heavy equipment. They're loading on a tractor-trailer truck, unloading, working on that stuff in the shop. Then you look going west, look at all the car dealers that we've got going west. And look at all the traffic that's out there. I think that, we've made a commitment and we're subsidizing, in other areas of the county. And as a taxpayer in those other areas that's being subsidized, I've seen the benefit of that paramedic service, and I'm willing to see the general fund subsidize this and take a chance on it effective July the 1st of 2017.
So you want option 2, is that correct?
Option 2. I don't, I'm assuming we're going to use one of the used trucks that we purchased from White Oak, or either one of the other trucks. I don't know what the status is on Bath Community, but I see that in Bellhaven from time to time.
Mr. Chairman.
So that's gonna be my recommendation.
Commissioner Richardson?
I just want to get one thing clear, and I'll wait till the manager finishes because he's going to have to answer it. If I understand this correctly, pulling out of Old Ford, taking that away from the city of Washington, is not going to bother the city of Washington, not going to make any, they don't care other than they lose the $157,000 in revenue, but it's not
Well, I
going to
think they
affect.
do care.
They do
I
care.
think they do care.
They do care.
They do. Yeah, I mean, I think they want to maintain that, and I would too if I were sitting there.
But if I understood the conversation a minute ago, it sounded like, well, gee, they'll lose the money, but they're going to keep right on going. We're going to leave them alone. They're going to keep operating just like they are.
Well, here's what they've said is they would like to continue that contract, because essentially the way it works in the city right now, and I was over there when we negotiated that contract, we didn't, or the city, not we, at that time, I'll say we didn't have to ramp up anything. We didn't have to add another truck. We didn't have to add any additional personnel. We said if the county wants the city to cover that area, then we can do it, and we'll do it if we're available and at what level we have at the time. That's the way the contract's written. That's the way the city has been going by the contract, which is exactly what how the contract reads. So, if the county steps up and says, we'll provide that, the city is unable to move its units outside. I mean, we asked the question, okay, if you want to maintain that contract at that level of a paramedic level in the district, can you move a truck out there? Just like we can move a truck out there. Would you do that? And they said, no, we can't do that. But we can provide you a dedicated EMS truck that doesn't respond to fire calls and is separate from that. But will it impact them financially? Yes, it will impact them financially. And what they said in their sheet was they felt like we ought to compensate for them for that if we took that contract away from them. That was one of their footnotes.
Right.
But I'm not sure why you do that. I mean, you have a contract with somebody to provide a service, and they don't provide it, you don't pay them.
And that's why I'm asking the question this way. I mean, if the city were to say, we can't do this now that you've done this, we've lost all this revenue, so we're going to get out of the EMS service. So, Mr. County, it's up to you to take over and do this.
The numbers we ran showed a surplus when we ran those.
So they would still stay in the EMS business?
Well, no. What you asked if they said we're out of it completely.
Yeah.
Would the county be okay? The county would be okay based upon the numbers we've run. We actually showed we would, if that were to occur, and I don't anticipate that to happen, because financially it would be a tremendous impact on the city. If the city said we're out of the EMS business completely, we would redo our model and we would staff 2 county units in the city, and we would put a QRV out in Old Forward area.
Okay.
Because then we would have transport capability to go out and pick those folks up. You can't do that model right now because you got to pay somebody to have a transport unit. And the city would say, if you want us, go put your QRV out there, we'll come pick the people up, but you still got to pay us, which makes sense. I mean, you wouldn't expect it any other way. However, for there to be a unit in that area, we've shown you those numbers. If the city said we're completely out of the EMS business, the numbers we ran using their revenue numbers, we had some higher revenue numbers from our billing consultant. We used their revenue numbers. We showed, based upon that model, 2 units and a QRV, that based on the tax value, because remember, the county currently funds its EMS service by an EMS tax. If the city of Washington said we're out of the EMS business inside the city limits, then the county commissioners would need to impose a 5-cent tax on top of the city to pay for that EMS service. That's how you're currently paying for it all over the place, everywhere else. So if you, and that was what the numbers we shared with them. We said, if you take an additional 5 cent on top of that, then you take away the revenue that was coming in, it was about a 10 to 12 cent swing from what we were looking at.
Okay.
So from that perspective, that's why we said at the last meeting, we wouldn't make that recommendation, even sitting from this side, because it just doesn't make sense. Let the city continue to provide coverage inside the city the way their model has it set up, which is an efficient model for them. Their council is happy with that model. They believe that's an appropriate way to do it, and let them continue to do that. Would there be an impact from the old Ford contract? There would be an impact from the old Ford contract. It would probably be, based on the numbers that we see, it's about 2 cents.
Okay.
So, yeah, everything above board, all
Chairman,
information on the table.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with option 2, where the county provide the EMS service for Old Ford and Klotz Neck.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion. We have a second. Any further discussion?
Question on the tax district. you've got Old Ford EMS. I'm assuming that includes Clark's Neck, Old Ford. Is it Washington Township, or is it two separate EMS?
Washington Township, it's defined as the Clarks Neck Fire District and the
Old Ford.
the Old Ford Fire District. That's,
That thing
because you've
goes
got city.
all the way to the Pitt County line and
The
the,
Martin
Goes all the way
County.
to the Martin
Pitt
County
Martin.
line and the Pitt County line.
and the Pitt County line. That whole fire district there. I mean, not fire, EMS district. Excuse me.
Question.
Yes, sir. Oh, you calling the question? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 6-1. I think you have a closed session, our last item.
Thanks, sir.
Madam Clerk, if you would read us into that.
Going into closed session, consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial appointment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee, or to hear or investigate a complaint, charge, or grievance by or against an individual public officer or employee.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're back in open session, and as a result of our closed session, there is no further action. Is there a motion by this board?
So moved.
We're adjourned.